Alright then guys, my first video of this year. I will hopefully try and do more, just try and be more frequent this year. I haven't really got much excuse for it, to be honest. I've been really busy, but I'm just trying to find that motivation to get it all done. It's just one of those things that once it's in my pattern, I will be far better at it. And one thing that I'm hoping to do this year is to get more of you guys involved. I like doing content with other people at the same time, just have someone to bounce off of, have conversations with, and just a general chat. It's difficult to properly get into topics when I'm the only one speaking. It's difficult to just try and find the right pivot points for different conversations just because it's very one-sided. It's difficult to properly articulate what I want to say. People always say if you can explain it to somebody else, you know what you're talking about. And right now when I'm talking to, it's effectively I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to myself. So I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say, if you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm going to do a little thing for a few videos just talking about, now that it's eventually finally been confirmed. When I spoke previously, it hadn't been yet. It's now been confirmed that INEOS are in. So far, we know of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Sir David Brailsford, and Jean-Claude Blanc as well, along with a few other ones for the board, on the board level in terms of just to appease certain people. I'm going to do a few different topics of conversation on how I want INEOS to operate, but what I want to do just from the start. Just little things that need to be changed at the club for the culture, just to get us run like a proper club again. It's been a long time since that was the case. Like, I'm 22. I haven't known that to be the case. But hopefully, that could change. Who knows? But today is mainly going to be focused on the transfer market and just how we operate there, where we're going wrong, how it can be changed. I'm no expert, obviously, that's why I'm here and not elsewhere. But just my very basic, just my thoughts on the whole situation. I'm going to start off by talking about the fact that why we're always getting ripped off in the transfer market and how that can be changed with someone like a Paul Mitchell, who's been linked with us, with the likes of a Dan Ashworth, with a whole new revitalised recruitment network and data-driven mindset, because that's one thing that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford will bring in, is a very data-driven mindset in terms of wanting to look at those marginal gains, those little things that can be done to maximise different potential. When it comes to why we're so poor at getting players for value, we saw it with the likes of Anthony, who has been heavily criticised, and rightfully so, in terms of what his output's been compared to what his value and price was for the club. But Laurie Whitwell came out of an article basically talking about the fact that we were looking at him under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and we valued him at around 25 million, and then we went on to buy him for a considerable amount more than that. Our struggles are the fact that we struggle. I keep saying struggle, but it is true. We just don't seem to have a plan B or a plan C or a plan D. If we do, it's completely different to plan A. We saw over the summer of Ten Hag's first season, we were going after Frankie de Jong. I think that was a pretty public saga. We were all fed up with it by the end of it. But yeah, we were looking for a Frankie de Jong who's more of a deep dictator. He wants the ball, he wants to progress it, he wants to pick it up off the defensive line, and we couldn't get him. And so we went from Frankie de Jong to Casemiro, who, massive fan of Casemiro. He's done wonders at this club. But Frankie de Jong and Casemiro, their roles are so different that you can't go from one to another. We saw it as well over the summer, where, just gone, we were linked with Mason Mount or Caicedo. Again, two very different players. So when we're going into these negotiations with Chelsea, we're going to go, okay, if you're not going to give us Mason Mount, we want Caicedo. And they're going to go, no, you're not. They are completely different players. They're not going to play the same role. If you sign Mason Mount, you also can go sign Caicedo. So they're going to look at you and you're going to go, you haven't got plan B. This is your only plan. Therefore, we know we can take you for a trip around the houses and you're going to keep coming back to us. We go into negotiations from a place of weakness because we don't know what we're going to do if the plan fails. You need to learn to plan to fail instead of plan to succeed. And our issue is we have no plan for failure. Even though we're a club that's constantly failing, we have no plan for it. We have nothing to fall back on. We strive for what we want so much that we don't plan for what happens when we don't get it, and that's why we're spending so much on things that we don't need to be spending on, because we're so desperate for those plan A to work. We haven't even thought about what plan B or plan C is, and that puts the pressure on plan A that much more, and it just, once it goes wrong, it goes wrong. And that's what's the case in the transfer market, is that we go for plan A so heavily we haven't got something to fall back on, so we have to keep going, as we saw with the likes of Anthony, where if we'd gone for him in the start of the window, we could have got him for about 35-40 million, Ajax was saying, and we waited, and they sold some big names in that summer, the likes of Lissandro Martinez to us, they sold the likes of Sebastian Haller, Mazraoui left on for a free, so they'd done quite a bit of business that they didn't need to sell him. So it got to the point when we came back in again, because we didn't have a plan B. We went back in for Ten Hag's man. They went, we don't need to sell him anymore. If you want him, we know you're desperate for him. We want this much, and we've gone. We're only going to buy him for this much, and they've gone, okay, we'll just wait. We'll wait for you to come back because we know you will. And then by the time we come back to him, at first it wanted this much, and they want this much, and we've paid it. That's the issue, is that teams can take advantage of us because they know we aren't well run. They know we haven't got a plan for failure. And when you haven't got a plan for failure, your plan for success becomes that much weaker and becomes that much more important that when it doesn't work at all. And that's how we've been doing so much bad business in the transfer market, that we haven't got that option to go, okay, we're going to take a step back, and it didn't work out, we're just going to go for the next target. And that's what we're seeing as well on the pitch, is we haven't got that plan B. So when you have a look at the likes of Anthony, who's cost you so much money, when you have a look at the likes of Andre Onana, who's struggling at the moment, he has had some good performances but has let the side down a fair bit. You can't really take a step back and go, okay, let's drop them for a bit and I'll bring in somebody else, because they've come in with that massive transfer fee. You can't say, I've made a mistake, I put my hands up, we're just going to rest him for a little bit, we're going to drop him, we're going to give someone else a go, because the media's going to come out and have a go at you saying you just put this amount of player on the bench. And as well, if for example we have been spoken about, Michael Elise has been linked to us a fair bit recently, being the big transfer under Sir Jim. If he wants to dip into the market, he'll say, I want Michael Elise, I want him for, he's going to be 50-60 million. They're going to go, no, we've just bought you this winger for this amount. And because of that failure in the first place, it means you can't afford to fail again in the future, because you're coming from a place where they think they've backed you and their plan A has been a failure and they haven't given you an option for plan B. It's just certain situations like that we need to improve upon. We need to have a look and we need to go, okay, we want this player, and if we don't have him, here's plan B. This player is going to be a little bit more expensive, but he's just as good. Or here's plan C. This player's not as good, but he's younger, he's cheaper, he may eclipse plan A, but he's the same profile. Or plan D, you're going to go, okay, here's a short-term option, we'll bring them in, and plan C will come in too for a lot cheaper, and these two can learn off each other. We need to get to a place where if plan A doesn't work, we have things to fall back upon, and that is when we see like City. They were after the likes of Lucas Paquetá in the summer. They failed because they didn't want to cough up the money, so they went for Matthias Nunes instead. They have plans for failure. They know that if plan A doesn't work, they're comfortable to take a step back because they have these other options. And that's why we're struggling as well with selling players, because teams know, okay, They are desperate to sell because people keep saying we're desperate to sell because we haven't got the money. So they can again take advantage of us because of our struggles with buying players and selling players, and because we're so desperate to sign players for big amounts of money, they can demand high wages because they've gone, you just spent 80 million on me, I want 200k a week. And we can't really turn around and go, we can't afford it because we've just spent 80 million pound on them. And when you get to that level of money, when you want to then sell them, you're selling at a very exclusive market. And when you're wanting to sell a player, they don't want to take a massive step down, especially with the wages they'll be on, and teams won't want to pay what they will have to pay to take them off you if you're saying they're not good enough for you. We're in that really weird stage where we have to reset and we have to rebuild, but we just haven't got the facilities to do it. People keep joking about the fact we need a full reset, to strip the club and start again. We're kind of getting to the stage where that is going to have to be the case. We need the likes of Jean-Claude Blanc to come in and just say, if you want to stay, half your wages. It's not going to be that nuclear, but he is going to have to come in and establish some sort of new wage structure because the current one we have just isn't working. And it's a sad indictment of what's happened under previous regime when we've had the likes of Ed Woodward, he was the catalyst for a lot of the failings at Manchester United, especially our wage structure. When you look at the likes of Marcus Rashford, who is around about our top earner at the moment, the likes of Varane, Casemiro, they're not going to get these wages elsewhere. And they got these wages because we offered stupid wages to other people. First of which was Alexis Sanchez. We brought Alexis Sanchez in for a swap deal, so he was effectively seen as a free transfer when he came in. And because of that, the money we saved on not signing somebody could go towards paying his wage. So he came in, depending on who you believe, for around 400k a week. And when Sanchez is on 400k a week, De Gea should be on 350. Just all these players that are coming in, Lukaku should be on higher wages. Every single player that's at the club at that moment is going to want a pay increase in comparison to the highest earner. And once that becomes the case, your wage structure is now broken, because you've looked at like a David De Gea, who was then of like about 350, 375, and then Ronaldo comes in and he's going to say, I'm better than him, I want more than that. Then he's going to come in for $500,000 a week. And then Ronaldo's there, and then Rafael Varane's going to go, you know what, I've won as much as him, I want more money that's more comparative to him. And then you can't really say no. Once it's broken, it's difficult to fix, and that's the point where we need to get to, where we're fixing our wage structure, because that's something that is really hurting us when trying to sell players. And we just need to improve our way of selling youth prospects as well. We've got so many players we've let go for so cheap compared to other clubs. You see the likes of City selling Cole Palmer for so much. He's an incredible talent, and you know what, he's already proven his value. But then you've got the likes of Trafford, who left City as well for so much. You see Chelsea selling players for extortionate amounts. You've seen Liverpool selling really just poor players for massive amounts of money, like the likes of Nico Williams, Nat Phillips, all these players. They can get good deals for them because their wages are so low comparative to what other teams would have their players at. So you see the likes of Trafford, who would have been on very little at City, can then go to Burnley. You see with the likes of Forest, they went for Matt Turner instead of Dean Henderson, and that's because his wages were so much lower that they could afford someone like him, and they can give him that little bit extra. It's just so many different failings at this club that need to be fixed. And hopefully under this new regime, under this new leadership model, hopefully that will at least start to get there. I've been looking into a lot of Sir David Brailsford at the moment, and one thing that he does say is, you want to strive for perfection, but if it's so far away, don't go for it, because otherwise you'll fail every single day. Instead, go for progression. See what you can do next week that you're not doing this week. See if you can make these little changes and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to where you want to be. Don't strive for the end goal straight away. It's all about the process, not the outcome. And I couldn't agree more. We just need to look at what we can do step by step by step. Let's not pretend we're in a position that we're not. Let's look at where we want to be and how we can get there, and hopefully we're on the road to that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Bit of a rambly one, not much structure, just getting stuff out of the old noggin. But yeah, like I said, if anyone wants to join me on one of these videos in the future, just let me know, hit me a message, and we will discuss things. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Hopefully I'll be doing another video because, you know, I'm out of practice. But yeah, peace.